Greetings, Doctor. We are from Group 2 from Occurrence 2, are going to present our assignment project. But first, let me start with the agenda for today that we're going to be talking about. So the table of content for this presentation, firstly, we're going to be talking about the executive summary. Secondly, we're going to be talking about the background of each company that we chose. Thirdly, we're going to be talking about the types of revenue, the definition, recognition, and measurement. Fourthly, we're going to be talking about the industry-specific issues related to the revenue. Fifth, we're going to be focusing on the revenue-related disclosure. And then last but not least, we're going to be talking about the conclusion. Okay, so for the executive summary, we're going to be having an overview of revenue aspects for 4 companies, which are Perak Transit Berhad, Mr. DIY Group and Berhad, Spritzer Berhad, and Hin Holdings Berhad. This presentation also includes background information, revenue types, industry-specific issues, and MFRS 15-based revenue disclosures. And that's it from me. For now, I will pass the floor to the next presenter.
Good day, Doctor. I'm Kang Ling, and now I will take part for the background. So to fulfill the task, our team has choose 4 different companies from 4 different sectors. The first is Perak Transit Berhad, which is a public transportation provider from travel, leisure, and hospitality sector. And secondly is Mr. DIY, which is a home improvement retailer for the retailer sector. Lee is Spritzer Berhad, which is a bottled water provider for food and beverage sector. And lastly, Kin Holdings Berhad, which it provides reliable and practical solution for everyday household needs for consumer service sector. Moving on to the next part, Kin Holdings Berhad established and incorporated first at 1961, followed up with Spritzer Berhad 1989, and next Mr. DIY at 2005 and Perak Transit Berhad at 2008. The year listing in Bursa Malaysia, Spritzer Berhad came in first at 1994 and followed with Kins Holding Berhad 1996 and Perak Transit Berhad 2016 and Mr. DIY 2020. For the number of employees and size of company, Mr. DIY have the most number of employees for 15,708, whereas Perak Transit Berhad has the least for 261. According to OECD standard, all of these companies are considered a large-sized company because they have more than 250 employees.
Hello, I'm Wong Enqi and I'm going to present about part 3, types of revenue. So under types of revenue, we have 3.1, definition of revenue, 3.2, recognition of revenue, and 3.3, measurement of revenue. Okay, so for part 3.1, definition of revenue, revenue is the total amount of income arising in the course of an entity's ordinary activities. And the ordinary activities have different terms such as sales, turnovers, and royalties. Dividend income and interest incomes are covered by MFRS standards on financial instruments, but not MFRS 15, and is presented as financial income rather than revenue. Gains such as those arising on the proposal of PPE are not revenue as they do not arise during ordinary activities. They are either presented separately as other incomes in the statement of profit or loss or are netted against the relevant expense category. According to MFRS 15, revenue is measured based on the consideration specified in a contract with a customer in exchange for transferring products or service to customers, excluding amount collected on behalf of the third parties. So the objective of MFRS 15 is to establish the principles to report useful information about the nature, amount, timing, and uncertainty of revenue and cash flows arising from a contract within a customer. This is tracked by MFRS paragraph 1. Okay, so for these 4 companies, which is Perak Transit Berhad, Mr. DIY Group Berhad, Spritzer Berhad, and Kins Heritage Berhad, though these 4 companies have different size and are from different sectors, all of them have the same revenue definition. Okay, so customers are the source of revenue for all 4 companies, with sales of goods being one of the main resources of revenue to Mr. DIY Group Berhad, Spritzer Berhad, and Kin Holdings Berhad, while Perak Transit Berhad generated revenue by bus service and petrol station operation. However, even different companies have different types of main revenue earned. All companies reported revenue from contracts with customers. According to MFRS 15, paragraph 9, the contract with customers is the process of recognizing revenue, and the existence of a contract can be written, verbal, or implied between the entity and the customer. For Perak Transit Berhad, its revenue from contracts with customers is 138572709 ringgit. Mr. DIY Berhad is 3985840000 ringgit. Spritzer Berhad is 3310260000 ringgit, and Kin Holdings Berhad is 559577000 ringgit. The highest of four of the company is recorded by Perak Transit Berhad by bus service and petrol station operation at 138572709 ringgit. For the Mr. DIY Group Berhad, it is reported the second highest revenue by sales of goods, while for Spritzer Berhad and Kin Holding Berhad, they report sales revenue of 330675 ringgit and 559577 ringgit respectively. Okay, so for part 3.2, recognition of revenue, according to MFRS 15, the revenue is recognized when or as the entity has transferred to the buyer control of the asset from paragraph 31. Revenue recognition is a 5-step process that is in conjunction with the revenue recognition principle. Firstly, a particular entity should identify its contract with its customers. Next, the entity should identify and determine its performance obligation towards its customer, either a distinct goods or service, or bundle of goods or service, or a series of distinct goods or service. The third step is determining the transaction price, which is the sum of consideration that an entity expects to receive from its customers upon fulfilling an obligation. The fourth step is, in the revenue recognition process, is allocating the transaction price to each performance obligation. And finally, recognize revenue when the performance obligations are satisfied, when the transfer of a promised goods or service to a customers at the point of time and over time. So for recognition of revenue, all four companies comply with MFRS 15 paragraph 31, which is revenue recognized when the control of the goods or service is transferred to the customer. These four companies also comply with MFRS 15 paragraph 35, paragraph 38 too, which is revenue is recognized over time when the performance obligation is satisfied, and revenue is recognized at a point in time when the performance obligation is satisfied. All the information given is extracted from the respective company's annual reports. For the part 3.3, measurement of revenue, all companies except for Perak Transit Berhad, the revenue is measured at the consideration that the group anticipates to acquire in returns for those goods or services based on MFRS 15 paragraph 47. Pursuant to MFRS 15 paragraph 66, Mr. DIY Group Berhad and Kin Holdings Berhad measure the consideration received or receivable at fair value. Compliance with MFRS 15 paragraph 76, when there are more than one obligations, all companies allocate the transaction price to each performance obligation based on their relative standalone selling price.
Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is Muhammad Salahuddin and I'm going to continue the presentation with the industry-specific issue related to the revenue for each company. The first company is Mr. DIY Berhad. The revenue generated from Mr. DIY Berhad is really depend on the consumer spending patterns and behaviors. So it becomes the issue if the company failed to consider the market trends, product quality and reliability, and people's need. Besides, the supply chain issue also has an impact to the revenue. This is because Mr. DIY imports about 70% of the company's product. So if the company face shortage in supply, their revenue could be affected. The second company is Perak Transit Berhad. As public bus operator company, the main issue is the decreased number of passengers. Because of the movement control order or MCO, the company revenue decreased. This is because less people has used the service. And another difficulty is setting the fare price. It always has been the dilemma for the company because if the company set the fare price too low, the company may not be able to cover the operational cost. And if set is too high, people don't want to use the bus. The third company is Spritzer Berhad. The company sells range of bottled water product and their main product is mineral water. Inadequacy of water supply is the main issue for this company. Without sufficient water supply, the production could not meet the market demand, and consequently, number of sales will drop together with the amount of revenue. The last company is Khin Berhad. There is an intense competition in the consumer appliance industry. Therefore, the pricing strategy is the issue. It can give high pressure to the company in deciding the suitable price for their products. Next, changing consumer preference and technological advancement require the company to continuously invest in R&D, which require more cost to bear. That's all from me. I pass to the next presenter. Thank you.
Good day, Doctor. I am Ansem and I will present on 5.0, which is about revenue-related disclosure. According to MFRS 15, paragraph 114, Perak Transit Berhad disaggregated the revenue from contracts with customers that comes from bus services and petrol station operation, while Mr. DIY Group Berhad, which specified its revenue in selling household items and appliances. Moreover, Spritzer Berhad divided income into net sales of goods and income from mini golf operation, while Kin Holding Berhad's revenue from consumer electronics and electrical appliances. Furthermore, in line with MFRS 15 paragraph 120, all of these four companies have not stated the amounts allocated for unsatisfied performance obligations. In addition, the cost incurred to fulfill a contract with a customer, which is according to paragraph 128A of MFRS 15, are stated for Mr. DIY Group Berhad, Spritzer Berhad and Kin Holdings Berhad, but not disclosed in annual reports of Perak Transit Berhad. That's all from me. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So for the conclusion of this presentation, as mentioned before this by other presenters, we can conclude that Perak Transit, Mr. DIY, Spritzer, and Hin comply with revenue recognition principles. Revenue is recognized when control of goods or services transferred to customers, either over time or at a point in time. Transaction price is allocated based on selling prices, and revenue from contracts is disclosed. However, there are some variations. For example, Mr. DIY doesn't measure revenue at the expected amount, and Perak Transit Berhad doesn't use fair value. These companies prioritize transparency for stakeholders in informed decisions, and that is it for us for now. So thank you.